Good morning. Grab your coffee. It's time for Living with Favor, where we talk about faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. I'm Lisa Mosby, your host of Living with Favor. Thank you so much for tuning in and letting me share a bit of advice. Today's special guests are Heather Grutzmacher and Sarah Rejman Drummond. What I admire about Heather is her groundedness and her genius with meditation, yoga, and somatic dance, and being a successful wellness business owner. Oftentimes, we're challenged as wellness business owners that we spend all of our time with our clients, our customers, and we don't do what needs to be done with technology and digital marketing and letting people know who we are. And that really is a genius of Heather. I've learned so much from her, watching her on Instagram and how she shows up. She's taught me a thing or two. She's actually helped me put my podcast out there. So she's brilliant when it comes to her wellness business. So I appreciate that she's here today. And Sarah's brilliance is it feeds my passion, which is herbalism. She and her husband have over 50 years of experience with plant medicine, and her confidence and conviction to serve folks lifts my spirits. And I look forward to learning more from her as well. So when you get to invite people into your world that you're not only peers with, but they know a vast amount of things that you don't know, it's really a blessing. And so these two women, I call them women of serenity because they're both incredibly grounded and they bring such a sense of peace to me. And they're joining me today for a conversation on faith, which is the first of our 5 essential elements of life. So, ladies, thank you so much for being here and let me edify and love on you just a little bit this morning.
Thank you. Grateful.
Yeah, you're welcome to be here. Um, I want to kind of kick this off. I'm going to do a lot of the talking, and then you guys get to do all the talking. We had a chat about this, like where do we want to go with this? And I was wondering how to kick off a discussion about faith, and I thought I'm going to look up the definition. So I went to a website called compassion.com, and it's about sponsoring children around the world. And they talk about this concept of faith, that many religions have traditions around faith. And it's often related to different beliefs, but there's also a secular connotation with faith. Um, and that emphasizes more of the loyalty and the commitment. I'm going to read this. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines faith as an allegiance to a duty or a person. In addition, someone can act in bad faith when he or she is intent to deceive, and that contrasts with good faith, which holds positive intentions. With the biblical faith, it's considered a belief or trust in God based on evidence, but not total proof. So there's this gray area of faith. And how do we define that? And I think each of us defines it differently, but I like to look at kind of that commercial definition. And the things that came up through that definition are really loyalty and trust and trust in God and trust in other people, trust in beliefs is how I kind of interpret it, how I was able to extract it. So I want to throw it over to you guys. Heather, when you think of the word faith, how does that resonate with you?
Yeah, so Lisa, number one, thanks for having us. I can't wait to have this conversation with you and Sarah. She's also my bestie, so this is so fun. I also, nerd alert, looked up the definition this morning, which you and I have done before with words and themes of things, because it really does help people come up with like context and like a foundation to have the conversation and then be creative. So we get to do that. So thank you. I also did. And something that really stuck out for me was one of the definitions that said like a strong belief in God, not necessarily religion, but spiritually. What stood out for me, it said without apprehension,
Mhm.
which to your point, is something that I believe growing up, secular, but knowing I was Jewish, and then also doing like really reform like pop culture Judaism instead of like the deep, deep, deep dive, which is how Sarah has chosen to live her life, is like full devotion and commitment. I think the distinction for me was seeing the leap of the difference for my support, my mental health, and like really what do you believe in when you really start to lean in, test, and look at things like in the physical and then spiritually floating around, and you start to have that conversation with yourself of like, what is this? I can't explain this. It's like this miracle happened, this amazing thing happened. I was going left and now I'm going right. I was in a bad place and now all of a sudden everything's flipped to full amazingness. And when you can't explain it, it's like that's when you have the faith, the loyalty, and like, oh, it's God, because there's no other explanation for it. And like that's like my favorite conversation. So it's like I think it's the leaning in yoga, we say, and you're in a really hard pose. There's like a leap of faith that you take to go into inversions or to lean backwards in a pose, and you're like you're in a place of faith and trust that you're going to be held even if you're in this funky position, So it's like, I feel like for me as a yogi, that's a big part of it also. But I love this idea of not having apprehension because it removes control and anxiety. So that's kind
Does.
of coming up for me on that.
That's a great addition. The lack of apprehension. It's interesting. I read something somewhere where someone says, "Why would you pray and then turn around and worry?" Like there's no trust. Like that's that apprehension there is, you're praying and you're expressing your faith and your belief and you trust that things are going to work out the way they're supposed to work out, but then you go worry about it. It's like rather than being in flow and just letting it happen, that I see that a lot with many of us who have faith and yet we don't allow it to play out in divine time. We expect it. I'm prayed and now I want it to be here. I want it to happen now. And that's not really how the world works. It's like you set it up, you ask for what you need, you sow the seeds, and then harvest comes later. And we have time to wait for that harvest to come later. Sarah, how about you? Where does faith land? Heather gave us a kind of a sneak peek on what your beliefs are, but I would love to hear more.
Yeah, so for me also last night I was also contemplating faith. I looked it up in Hebrew, but what came to me, which is very similar to what you're both saying, when I was within myself thinking about faith, is just being with the unknown and being good. Just this concept of just being like, I have no idea and I'm okay because I know that something's going to show up when it's meant to show up. And I just trust that process. I trust God because it's always manifested somehow. Everything good has always manifested somehow. And I looked up the words in Hebrew because there's two words that are utilized in Hebrew and they're kind of interchanged for faith, for this concept of faith. One is emuna and one is bitachon. And that's a conversation that has become very prevalent in this day and age, obviously, as people are yearning and searching and grasping, to something. But emuna is generally faith, and bitachon is normally trust. But in my mind, it's like bitachon is really certainty. So it takes it to another level. Because batuach means to be certain, right? So again, like if we can pull this concept of faith together, faith and trust together with certainty, like I know it's all going to manifest. I don't know when, I don't know how, I just know it's going to manifest for goodness. And for goodness is not always only our goodness. I mean, I always pray for the greater good because it's not always that what we see as what we want and how we want things to be is not always the ideal in the larger divine picture. So I feel like trust and faith even goes beyond to that level of, I even trust that if that's not meant to be, if what I pray for is not meant to be, then I'm okay with it. I'm still willing to allow the process of life to fulfill itself for the greater good with me as a messenger, it's just like a channel of God, really, in physical form, that that everything is for greater good.
The word that, yeah, when you were speaking, the word that just kept flashing, it was like this in my brain, it's saying surrender, surrender, surrender. And I think that's what you described. It's like, it's not my will, it's God's will. It's the surrender. I'm going to ask, I'm going to plant my seeds, I'm going to sow those seeds, and then I will see how that harvest comes to be for the greater good, not just for me, because we're all connected. We're one body. And it's unfortunate that we can't see that. We have holy wars. We have, all of this struggle within coming together as one body of human beings, all with really a shared belief. Maybe we don't believe exactly, but we don't have to. That's what makes it interesting. What causes growth to happen is where we all get to share our perspective and we all get to add to that big old pot of stew. What is faith? What is belief? What is trust? What we all get to define this. And there doesn't have to be one way, one only way, because we'll all know eventually. And right now we're operating just in that place of faith and trust and surrender and obedience. Like there are a lot of words that can define our behavior. But how do we bring that into business? Because oftentimes we don't talk about this. We go about our business, we do our stuff. We know that we have to put food on the table and create shelter. We were talking about that before the show started here. How do we get into that place of enough abundance? And then can we bring faith in that into our business to support that abundance? And then still allow people to do business with us. Because sometimes when we bring faith into it, that turns people off and they go away. They don't want to do business with it. So Heather, do you want to go first on this one? Or throw it to Sarah?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's up to you. Sarah, you want me to talk or you want to share first? Let's have Sarah because I feel like she's like, I'm learning so much from her space that she holds. And it's, I'd love to hear her go first because oftentimes, you know, she's a good big sister for me. She's been in this game a lot longer than I have. So first, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was actually yesterday that my business partner and life partner, Judah, said to me, I said, we're having a conversation on faith tomorrow. And he said, oh, faith is the law of attraction. And I said, I love that, like, thank you for saying that, and so faith is a law of attraction. It's like when we're able to keep our minds, like, of course, we all go through times, like for me in business, there are months that are great. There are months that are not as great. There's expenses that pop up. There's all kinds of things in life around. Is that where we're going with this? Like business, like as far as getting into the business, my faith was really in just being, sorry, I'm going in different places. Okay. So just faith in knowing that everything is going to work out, again, ties with, like, there have been months where, I laugh about it, where like the numbers don't add up. Like what came in and what goes out are not the same. And I have no idea how it all worked out. And I'm just say thank you. So faith in that aspect is, again, just like keeping our mind and our focus on what we want to generate and not like pulling backwards into doubt. I think that's one of our biggest, like shooting ourselves in the foot is with doubt or worry, like when we're able to stay in this law of attraction, faith, like forward, like what am I creating? What am I generating? What are my intentions? What's my purpose? Then somehow it works out even when the numbers don't make sense. There have been so many times where like also we alluded to this a little bit, but like we can do everything that we know to do about something and still sometimes God says no. So it's like, and I've had that experience where I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not done? It's like I'm doing everything. I'm making every phone call and sending every email God is like, wait, not time yet. And I just have to, like you said, surrender, just sit back and say, okay, in divine timing. Like that's become one of my mantras, in divine timing.
Me too. Yeah.
And then Yeah, and then I started to say, and I don't know if we want to pull the conversation there a little bit, maybe Heather speak first, but I wanted to talk about just like faith in connection with passion and mission. But maybe Heather, you say something first, and then we can go there.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I was going to go there anyway, Shara, as you were sharing. It's like I just went through a whole shift too. And it's like every time I have people question just even the business arena that we choose, it's holding your ground to your commitment to yourself. Like, I know that I'm a healer and I know that I'm here for bigger things outside of myself, like literally even where I am in the physical right now. So it's identity. For me, it's identity and community are the two things that spiritually come up for me with like faith and business. Cause it is all about like the alignment of are the people that I'm doing business with in community and network with, are we aligned? Are we in the same moral compass? What is our intention behind all of our own identities in an ecosystem? We met Lisa in an ecosystem, and the structure and the foundation is was created by a man of God who's Christian faith and amazing. And he doesn't lead with it in his business practices, but for those of us who are also like in that light, we all know that side of him and he doesn't even talk about it because we're in it. So it is that law of identity, attraction, community, networking, and like, where are you on your moral compass with God? It's there. It's there in our collective. Um, and so I choose to believe in holding strong and firm to my identity of what I've chosen for myself, to not get pulled out of it. And I'm often surrounded by people who don't believe and don't have faith and they're in pain. And so I'm holding my ground. Like we say, hold the light, be the light, shine the light. It's like when you choose that identity in yourself around your business, even your business practice. Lisa Mosby, same thing. She's a light everywhere she goes. And even if we're not have clients or we're not making money, there's always some beautiful conversation where you get to be a light for someone else as we go along our way. And so I feel like that is the unwavering part. The without apprehension part is when you're in your leadership, owning in a business, and you're committed to your faith in God. That's, to speak to Sarah's point, that's when the attraction comes. That's when the miracles come. And we're like, how did I even create this? We've been jumping up and down together, Sarah and I, because we just make miracles together because we know there's a higher plan because we're healers. We're not running around just trying to make money off people or con people to sell them or tell them there's problems and give them false solutions. It's like Sarah's products are amazing. My experiences have been amazing. And I just moved and relocated, and all 4 things that I said out loud on the car drive moving, they all have come back to me, and I've only been here for like a week. And they're saying yes. Like, I'm getting the meetings and the conversations. It's what I choose to believe because I talk to this person up here above us floating around who created us. I talk to Source all the time. Not even just in prayer, just like, okay, checking in.
All the time.
Yeah. And thank you. Being in that state of gratitude, something happens like, oh, thank you. This coffee's so good this morning. It's who we are. We live it every day, every minute of every day. I think when you use the word alignment, what comes up for me is mission, vision, purpose. Oftentimes people jump from business to business to business, and I see this so much with the younger generation right now. I'm watching a couple of nephews do this where, well, I can make $1 more over there. And there's no alignment. Like, yes, but is that really how you want to serve the world? Is that really what you want to do? You went to school to do this and how you were going to change the world and do things so much better, but yet you're going to go over here for $1 more. It's not in alignment with your mission, vision, purpose. And I think when you talk about alignment and you talk about sowing, we talk about sowing those seeds. What do you want your life to look like? Think of that before the money, before the job, or before launching a business because of its financial potential. The financial potential will be there, just like Sarah and her husband are saying, it's a law of attraction. When we get in alignment with our mission, our vision, our purpose, the way that we are supposed to serve, every one of us is here for a reason. We all support some purpose in the in the collaborative. And if we can figure that out, come alongside somebody who can help us to determine what that mission, vision, purpose is for our life, and then we live in alignment with that, the harvest will be grand. And we need to stay with it. We need to, continue on and stick with it. For you ladies, is there a pivotal moment that happened in your business to affirm that you're in the right space, the right place, and you're doing the right thing? You guys get to decide who goes first. There you
Sarah?
go. Your mouth is going to burst. I can see it. Was there a pivotal moment that, that faith played a role in your business to say, hey, I'm in alignment. This is it. I got it.
For me, there was definitely a pivotal moment. It wasn't like earth-shattering. I think just
Okay.
because um, I definitely know from life experience, because I've been in different fields. I've always had the healer in me. I've always been that, from early. I was the family psychologist. I was, I held everything up, psychologically, spiritually, physically. Um, it was just always something I did well naturally. And then I also was involved in many different types of businesses. So, I worked in retail. I owned a restaurant for 6 years. I worked in wholesale jewelry for many years, doing sales. So, like, I had all these other experiences that were great experiences. And what I know now, and I tell people often, like, when God puts us in different things, different situations and jobs that are not necessarily like our exact alignment and attunement and our purpose in the world, it doesn't necessarily mean don't go there, but go there only for a moment. Like, get the experience that you can get from it, because like for me, in retrospect, as I look back at my life journey, I'm definitely clear that everything that happened for the purpose of having me be who I need to be now, holistically. Like, the healer in me has always been the healer in me, but running a business is not natural to me necessarily. That's something I've learned by doing it, and so I tell the young folks, just be with, like, know what you love. And I tell them, like, what do you love? What are you good at? Like, that's like, tap into that. What do you love doing? Like, whether you get paid for it or not. And what are you great at? Like, what are your gifts? And explore those questions and really figure out, like, it's not something to even figure. It's like, just notice. And then whatever your job is right now, like, get all the gifts that you can get in order to then go into your passion mission with more experience. So that's kind of been my motto. That's like worked for me. And I remember I was in this, to answer your question more directly, it was probably about 15 years ago, when we already had Tonic Herbal Wellness, and I was still working in jewelry some, and like, I was doing different things. And then, or I was pulling back into jewelry for a moment because I was given the opportunity. And then I went, no, wait, why? Why? Like, there was so many things about that world, that, material world, that like just didn't resonate with me. Why would I step back in there? For money? Like you said, Lisa, for money? No, not willing to go there. And that, like, it was like a very, I remember the moment. I say it wasn't earth shattering, but I remember the moment where I chose. And I said, no, not going there. Like, my purpose, my mission here on the planet is helping people to be healed, physically, mentally, spiritually. That's my purpose, and I know it, and I'm clear, and that's where I'm staying, no matter how it goes or how it looks. So that's where we've been working it, and doing our best to just have people know who we are, and that we have great tools and they work, you know. So,
The introduction, I said your confidence and your conviction. That's where it came from. That was the moment that and I see that, and I feel that in your presence. You know, when you talk about what it is that you do and how you serve, it just lifts you, like your shoulders go up. You lean forward. It's like, okay, what's going on? Tell me. I can help you. That it's that confidence and conviction. And I know that young people today may not have it. That comes with wisdom. You do have to have some of those early life experiences because we don't always know. It's like you're not many of us are born in tune with what our purpose is. It's always in us, but it has to reveal itself, I guess is the word. And so there's that time when it comes, that pivotal moment where it reveals it to you and And so that's beautiful. Well said. Thank you for sharing that story. Heather, how about you? Pivotal moment for you.
I think there's like a pattern that I have, like spiritually, that I noticed where it's like I'm about to leap to the next like evolution, my next phase of ascension. And the pattern that I notice is it's like I get an itch to go to the next thing and like I'm feeling it before it comes. And then it comes out of like, for me, discomfort because I have to surrender and just let the process happen. The first time I even opened my own business, I was working for a health club and they started to take all like the full-time positions away, salaries away, health insurance away, like everything. They were stripping everything down to buy another club. And they weren't really communicating with us. It was just like all of a sudden, one week, boom, this is happening. Prove your case, do your thing. I freaked out for about 10 minutes. I'll never forget like standing in the Pilates studio, like the scene in the movie where you're watching yourself. It's like a trauma thing that you remember. I'm like watching the scene in the movie and I went, okay, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to text a couple of clients who wanted me to train them at their house anyway. And if they downsize me, like I went right into like, what am I going to do? Who do I know in my community? And I'm also going to reach out to a real estate person and like, let me just see if there's any kind of like random opportunity for me to open my own studio. And in a summer, I ended up like opening by Thanksgiving and they were like, I didn't even need to stay at the health club where they were like removing people. And it was a mile down the street and they left me with no contract. Like people had contracts at this health club. I had nothing. They left me with like, no, there was no contract. There was nothing. And that for me is also God. It's like not having that contract. There's nothing they could do because they messed up. Like, there was no contract of agreement. There was nothing. So I was like, I need to and get to be loyal to myself and choose myself and take care of myself and feed myself instead of being loyal to a company who's like not really caring about their employees. And again, for me, like you talked about loyalty, I get stuck because I sometimes stay too long and I don't pick myself in business relationships and in many relationships because the goodness and the healer in me wants to give people space and a chance. So it's all these maturing tenured lessons in business that we get to carry through everything. And so same thing just happened with me recently. I took a risk on a business opportunity and it didn't really turn out, but I know that it wasn't supposed to. So like when Sarah was speaking too, um, I don't really like the word rejection, but like rejection is protection. No is because God, KNOW, God knows better. So it's a
Yeah.
no for us. And sometimes we get upset, but God knows better.
Mm-hmm.
And I choose to create that and believe that as I leap into this next shift. Um, I know it's like I'm on the bridge of evolution right now. And so now I get to practice gratitude and patience and enjoy my family and see what's happening. So I'm like in like a little bit of I'm in like an active holding pattern, but it's only been a week. I want it to happen faster because I'm not gonna just like lay around and do nothing, but it's coming. So it's like I felt the shift, I felt the pause, I felt the discomfort, but now the attraction's starting to come back in. So I think when we look at ourselves too, a lot of people don't pause even in this conversation, to even notice their own patterns. And so I write and journal and write a book. I'm writing a book about it, just to process my own looking at myself, to work on myself, which is, I think that's one of my favorite things about you and Sarah, Lisa, and a lot of the women who are going to be on this month. We're also in that consciousness space because we are in faith and trust with source. Every woman you're going to have on this month, I know that they are, because we all know them and love them. We all watch ourselves. There's a different level of consciousness of watching yourself from above. And so I think that's another concept with faith that's important. It's like, if you're not watching yourself and you're not watching your consciousness and you're not watching things that you get to work on, that also is a relationship of faith and a conversation that you have with source and God and religion and spirituality. Is like, you're the witness.
Be still and know that I'm God. That's what came when you were saying no, K-N-O-W, and then there's this patience, this waiting that is happening. That's the psalm that comes up for me, is be still and know that I am God, that it's all being taken care of and things do unfold. We've all used the word divine, and we all have referenced, I'm working on divine time. It's not my time, it's divine time. Everything is serving the greater good, and it will happen when it's going to happen. How do you balance? Sarah touched on this just a little bit, but how do we balance the pursuit of profit with staying in our faith-based principles? I think sometimes we get slowed down because of that need for money, and we may get a little bit derailed. But how do we balance that pursuit of profit while staying true to the faith-based principles? Sarah, do you want to start us with that one?
Yes, sure. What comes up for me is just really stay true, like Heather alluded to. Just stay true to our service, just like,
How do we do that? She mentioned she's journaling and writing her story. How do
okay,
you see yourself doing it? Yeah.
practically. So through prayer, reading Psalms, um, just personal self-talk to God directly, uh, journaling as well, tapping into myself and being clear on what I want to be for the world and in the world. And then just staying true to that in every interaction that I have, just being like, what you see is what you get. And we're not trying to fake it, like Heather said, So, and with anyone, everyone, like I've really gotten into this practice of like being with people, like eye contact, like seeing people's soul, like stripping away all judgment, like hard, like not even seeing the physical almost anymore, just going like, right, like, who are you? Who am I? What do we have to do here together? If it's one word or if it's a lifetime, we never know, so yeah, so that's what comes up for me, and this concept of like we spoke a little bit in preparation, that like we're all one under one God, and when we can all get that, uh, and like drop all the baggage and the edge that a lot of people seem to carry around for protection, like just drop it all. Let's just be. Let's just be and in love, because like all we have is each other. I feel
Everything that
like
we
there's
make, we
nothing left.
create. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing left but like each other, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes me think of the word competition. We oftentimes, many of us are in the same fields in our morning rush. The morning rush which is where Heather had alluded to, where we all met was through the morning rush, which is a networking group for empowered people who are heart-centered leaders in their communities. And everyone is welcome. It's a free group. You're all welcome to come to that. But I think of that there's so many of us that are in similar fields. So we could technically be competitors to each other, but yet we don't, none of us see each other as competition. It's co-opetition. We cooperate together and help each other's businesses. And if somebody isn't my ideal client, they might be Sarah's ideal client, or we may send them over to Heather because they need meditation and grounding before we can help to serve them in a different capacity. There's this collaboration that happens. So when you say we're all one, we're all part of this unity that happens. But so much of I just learned a new phrase, you guys, IRL from the teenagers here. IRL in real life, in real
Ah,
life, we're not, we need to bring this. We need to be those heart-centered leaders that are bringing this to real life, to everybody else who maybe doesn't understand this, that they, feel the need to compete rather than to collaborate and come together and support each other. So that's
that
beautifully
that
said.
competition, I feel, is the lack of faith, Again, that's the lack of faith, because when we know that there's an abundance, because there's no lack in God. God is all and everything, beyond our wildest dreams and imagination. Then, so that's like, yeah, that personal, again, doubt, lack, like when people feel like it's all by them, like if I don't do this, this is not going to happen. No, like God got this, so yeah, so definitely I definitely insist that people like create a connection with the divine, like just, and like with yourself, do it through getting to know yourself and getting to know God, the invisible God, the energy of all creation. And
Abundant mindset versus lack mindset is what we're talking about here. Yeah.
right.
Heather, do you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I think that I couldn't agree more. I was just gonna say, it's like I watch people, most people struggle because, government and society has everybody programmed that where do you get your value from is being a consumer, right? The car, the brand, the shirt, the dress, the physical, the neighborhood I live in, that keep up lifestyle that I feel has gotten really out of control in this country. Um, really out of control because it's celebrated. You don't have to be a good person, but if you're pretty and attractive and have this watch and this belt and this suit and this car, that's what we look up to. I don't look up to that. I look up to artists, and I look up to, I'm about to go meet with the rabbi's wife here. I look up to my mentor here who owns a yoga studio. Like, I'm not someone who, fell into that programming of like watching television and like, oh, it's going to make me happy pointing, looking outside of myself. Cause if I get this thing, then I'm worthy. And in business, that's like a thing. Like you go to a networking event, you deal with someone. Are they attractive? Are they wearing this brand? And I'm in like a whole other world now with all these amazing coaches. Um, and I'm about to lean into another like coaching business where like they're like picking me to be on their team. And it's like I'm getting picked for like VIP squad. And none of us wear brands. And all of us are into like the plant medicine and the medicine and the herbal space and the wellness space and how we speak to each other. It's all about integrity, passion, love, kindness, and support. And just being real and having conversation about source and being artists. And to me, this is a renaissance period of like there's war happening. And if you look at again patterns in history, us artists and creative love peace people, we're not hippies. It's just peace, love, art. The Renaissance period is what got society through World War II. And so it's like I want to be in the light and the art and the creation part. I don't want to be a consumer because they're fighting. I want to be a lover who's creating. I don't to me, like, that's just who I've always been as a child. Like, when there's tension in the room, I want to be the peacemaker. When people are unhappy, I feel that and I want to do something about it. But now as an adult, it's like you have to just let people figure it out on their own so they're not spiritually bypassing, but we can just be in the room and be quiet and hold space and love them anyway. So for me, it's like we have an opportunity now. I think we're on the precipice of like, there's an election, and everything's politics, 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 and hate, 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 and war, war, war. And I'm sitting there just smiling, calm, peace, and happy because I'm going to go create dance events at a synagogue here. And I'm going to go teach yoga. And there's a new Pilates space in the JCC, and there's a wait list, and they want to hire me like last week. I just got here. So it's like, if that's not an energetic choice of like we've been talking about, of holding the line of who you are in the world as a healer, there is opportunity everywhere when you stay in your light and your grace and your heart and your love during a time of war. Like, we're the Renaissance people. That's what I think. So it's back to this sense of like identity and who you choose to want to be in your identity, and don't let anybody pull you out of that. I have tests happening all around me, and I'm just like, practicality wise, you asked too, Lisa, like, us doing this conversation for me is a practical way to show up and share and have other people listen to us to say, hey, me too, call us and join us. It's getting together, just being in these conversations for me is medicine. I check on Sarah, like we check on each other like every day, multiple times a day. How you holding up? Because we're holding light and love where most of the world is not in that energy field. I think that's part of my job. Just they say in Kabbalah, just like being born and being in your light, and in Judaism and the Torah, just doing mitzvahs. That's the greatest gift, of just being in the room, being quiet and holding love without even saying anything, that presence. So grateful for you girls, because I feel like all of us are in that space, as are all the ladies who are going to be on this month.
Yeah, I got goosebumps when you said that. It did. Yeah, that's exactly what that energy is just holding space and coming in. I think the collective is part of that. Is if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling not belonging, if you don't feel like you're belonging, come to the morning rush, because we'd love to meet you. If you're in the audience and you're listening to this, check out the morning rush. It is a collaborative of people from all walks of life from around the world. We have, I don't know how many countries we're in now. And we meet every morning on Mondays from 8 to 8:45 Eastern time. And you can get the support, you can get the belonging. Everyone is welcome. We continue to say that everyone is welcome because there is no judgment, and we are heart-centered people, and we want other people to have that experience, to feel that within themselves, and to know that what they say matters. It comes back to being heard, seen, and loved. And that's what we do there. We love on each other in a really professional way with our businesses, but we get to be the spiritual beings, as Sarah keeps saying, we get to be the spiritual beings that we are and still do business. We don't put profit over faith. We put faith first, most of us. And those of us that aren't there yet, we're learning from the rest of the group that has already been able to step into that place of faith and do their business from that place of heart-centeredness. Any final advice that you'd like to give other business owners about integrating their faith into their business model and showing up as a heart-centered leader in their community?
Meditation, meditation, meditation.
Okay.
And I would say honestly, and in the physical, powered by Tonica Herbal Wellness. I still have to make a video for Sarah, my testimonial. It's going to be like 2 hours long, but the practice of sitting with yourself more than once a day, and then having the right herbal medicine, which Lisa, you also, I know, believe in and have your own group around. It's why I connected you two, because we say in Hebrew, there's prayers that you say and blessings before you eat. My favorite is ha'adamat, of the earth, because if it's of the earth, it's not man-made, and God made it. It was designed divinely for you to put in your body. And so
Yeah.
that's what Sarah's brand is. And we're going to be creating another powerhouse sales force to start to get these products out into the world more as well. We have been, and I'm just such a big believer in it. So take your tincture and then go meditate.
Beautiful. Sarah, how about you?
Yes, just alignment with self, and surround yourself with what do I say, with people that hold the same values and ideals, like we were saying. I've become, in the past few years especially, I've just asked God, surround me with the people who are heart-centered, like surround me with people where, like where we could have these conversations that we're having now. So again, like, be still, know thyself, ask for what it is that you want, and then allow,
Get out of your own way.
Yeah, for sure. Most
Everything
people,
is working for your good. Yeah.
right.
Come from the heart. Sarah, where do folks find you and how do they, if they want to try Tonica herbal wellness products, where do they find you?
So you could definitely find us online. Our website is tonicaherbal.com.
Okay.
And yeah, and they could reach out to us there if they have any questions. There's a contact us form and all that. So
Excellent. And Heather, how do folks get in touch with you?
So I have my link tree on my Instagram. It's I_am Heather Grutz. And then you can find me there, connect with me, and we can schedule a chat anytime. Also, come to the morning rush.
Yes. And then we will have all that information in the show notes on YouTube. If you want to find this episode on YouTube, you'll find it under my channel, lisamosby.com. You can connect to that through lisamosby.com. If you are in need of a bit of advice to expand your brand or to build out and find your voice to share out on social media, let's talk about it. You can connect with me at lisamosby.com. That's Lisa, MOSBEY.com. You'll also find the link to the YouTube channel and all the other places that we can connect. I do have a calendar on there if you want to book time with me and talk about your business and how we can expand it. There's a 30-minute calendar if you want to just grab some time and chat. Come on back. We are doing the 5 elements, the 5 essential elements of life this whole month, and it's all women from the morning rush. Thank you to you for kicking us off and getting us started with this conversation around faith. And I look forward to seeing all of you come back next week where we're talking about fitness. We'll get into fitness fellowship. We're going to do it all with a little bit of fun, and then we're going to wrap up the series talking about our finances. So we're covering those 5 pillars, and we'd love to have you all come back. Thanks for joining us today. Bye, everybody.
thank you.